Hey, welcome back to Neckbeardia. It's Wednesday, which means it's a D&D day. Today we got for you D&D players. What's your funniest roll to one moment? I rolled a 1 on getting up out of bed because my DM decided we needed to do that. Not a game I played in, but watched live. Imagine a giant made of stone and plate armor, standing with his back to a corner. He was supposed to keep his eye out for assassins. All the while, he kept rolling 1s on his awareness checks, and 20s for his AC checks. Imagine, if you will, 10 assassins desperately trying to ping this guy with poison darts, only to have them all plink off his armor, and the dude is just standing there, completely unaware of any of it going on. Our orc was fighting a few guards on the stairs. I wanted to leap off his back and stab at a guy at the bottom. The DM said if I rolled well I could land it, so I got a natural 20. Then he had me roll for attack, and I got a natural 1. In true Jack Sparrow fashion, I leapt off this orc's back like a soaring eagle, and then face planted right in front of the enemy. Another was that we couldn't figure out how to investigate this castle without being seen going inside. So the orc wants to throw the halfling like a football over the wall. He rolls a natural 20 to grapple him and rolls a natural 1 to throw him. So he grabs him, rears back like Peyton Manning, and dead ass pelts him to the stone wall of the castle like a rotten tomato. Okay, this is a bit of a tale because there's a lot of 1s rolled that night. So here's my D&D group as it stood at the time. Grim, Goliath Barbarian, big muscles, big sword, intellect 7, gets set on fire a lot. Ariana, gunslinger, custom from Critical Role, tinkerer and blacksmith. Basically, the one Grim looks to tell him what to do when things require more sophistication than insert sharp thing A into Goblin B. Owner and builder of our armored wagon. Sal, perpetual hard luck thief. Really liked alchemy fire. Primary reason Grim gets set on fire a lot. Danny. Danny the dwarf. Danny, dwarf fighter. Occasionally used as a thrown weapon by Grim. Gravel. See, that's a proper dwarf name, Gravel. Gravel, dwarf cleric. Leveled up and discovered a whole set of really interesting spells about raising the dead. Probably should have checked with this guy to see if they were kosher first, though. Dirk and Bark. Dirk and Bark. Dirk was our ranger, and Bark was his direwolf, and quite possibly the only competent person in the group, the dog, not the ranger. So our thief Sal had a run of bad luck. He picked up a job off the guild job board in his downtime. Badly failed a perception check about it. Riddled off to burgle a nobleman's house. Botched a few more rolls. Had his face seen. And escaped with a pittance of gold. Turns out the job posting was a troll post by a rival guild. And he had just burgled a high-ranking Thieves Guild member. Whoops. So he shot us a message, and spent what little coin we had to get the hell out of town, and holed up in a little farmhouse on the outskirts. And botched his rolls getting there so the guild found out where he was. Nice. So we opted to mount a rescue before their henchmen found and gutted him. We loaded up in our armored cart, hitched up 6 horses and charged out of the city. Ariana and Dirk in front, Grim, Gravel, Danny, and Bark in the back. As we approached the farm, we could see Sal was in trouble. He had been overwhelmed, knocked out, trussed up, and thrown over the back of a horse that the henchmen prepared to leave. Seeing this, Ariana passed the reins to our ranger, and climbed up into the roof of the cart to get a better firing vantage with her gun. The ranger, deciding this was an excellent idea, called for one of us to come up and take over, and climbed up as well. Now, there was an important caveat about the construction of the cart. Namely, there was no pass-through from the back of the cart to the front. To get to the front, one of us would have to get out the back and climb along the outside. Grim, with the next highest ammo handling, and dumb enough to think it was a good idea, climbed out the back of the cart to climb around the side. Roll 1 on athletics. Immediately followed the back of the cart. At this point, Ariana and Dirk had opened fire, and the henchmen were now responding in kind. One of the henchmen's arrows grazed the leg of one of our horses, and since no one was driving, we auto-failed the ammo handling check. The horses veered suddenly right and picked up speed, heading right for a coastal cliff. Ariana and Dirk both botched their dex saves and were thrown from the cart. Hooray! Grim started running after the cart. As a Goliath Barbarian, his speed was stupid. Slightly higher than the cart, in fact. But it would take him a couple of rounds to catch up. Danny makes a try to climb out and get control. Immediate 1 on the athletics check, and off he goes. An injured Ariana and Dirk conducted a pitched range battle with the henchmen. Being prone, they managed to avoid getting killed, but they're pinned down. and the horses bearing the other henchmen and sow are leaving. We need to get that cart under control. Gravel decides to tie a rope around himself and try and get control. He secures the rope to the cart, climbs out the back, and promptly fails at the athletics check, tumbles out the back, now being dragged helplessly behind the cart. Graham catches up to the cart and manages to leap onto the back, the first passed athletics check of the night. The cliff is approaching fast, so he opts to stop the cart, even if it meant repairs, and tries to jam his greatsword into the spokes of the back wheel. The wheel explodes, naturally, and the cart jostles violently, and Graham is thrown off again. Gravel does his best to drag himself back up the cart via his safety line, making his strength checks. He manages to pull himself up just as Bark decides the cart is a lost cause, and nimbly hops off. Then the cart goes over the cliff. The horses hit the water first, the height enough that they are basically reduced to chunks. The cart shatters when it hits, but somehow Gravel survives with a few HP to spare. Graham jumps in after him, tanking the impact damage, and ending up at the bottom some 20 feet below the water just as Gravel, also on the bottom, casts water walking. Funny thing about water walking, if you are below the surface of the water, it will propel you to the surface rather rapidly, like a U-boat surfacing. So it was cast on Grim and Gravel, and they were 20 feet below the surface, so math was hastily done. It was determined that a very surprised pair were propelled up and out of the water, launched about 20 feet into the air, to land on the surface of the water, which was solid to them. Grim was down to a single HP by this point, so Gravel decided more magic was called for. As a cleric, he was well equipped with the healing spells to tend Grim's wounds, but he did not cast a healing spell. See, he had found some nifty spells in the cleric spell table, and decided he wanted to try them out. So he cast Create Undead on the dead horses. Not raise undead, create undead. On the horses, which were a collection of disparate horse chunks which were floating around after the impact smashed them to bits. The DM 100'd him and made him roll for it, despite the spell not being intended for this particular purpose. Natural 20 because of course it was. If you like horses, don't read the next part. Just skip it. This resulted in the spell pulling together as much horse matter as it could, forcing it all together and reanimating this mass of limbs, head, and other body parts into a horrific undead horse abomination which only knew agony. Grim rolled a 1 on his fear save and immediately fled. Gravel shrugged, hopped onto his horse abomination and ordered him to swim back to town. Meanwhile, the henchmen have gotten away. Denny was hurt from his fall and getting shot up, and Dirk and Ariana were finally getting to their feet to figure out their next move. At which point Sal trotted up and asked how it was going. Seems while we were busy failing at navigating a straight line, Sal had woken up, managed several difficult stealth checks and dexterity checks, and wriggled off the back of the horse without anyone noticing, freed himself and snuck away, all without any help. They regrouped, recovered Grim, drank their scant supply of potions and skunk home, defeated. When they arrived at the inn, they received a missive. Apparently riding a necromantic horse abomination into the city harbor was frowned upon by the city guard, and Gravel had been taken into custody. He had used all his gold to bribe his way out of the city, and was now on the outskirts of town, waiting for us at a certain farmhouse. Was playing with my group of friends. 2 of us were stuck inside a ring of fire with a bunch of hostile goblins. One of the party members outside wanted to help us out, so he decided to jump above the fires to get us, while doing a triple backflip in the air. So the DM tells him to roll 2 d20s. First roll's a nat 20, second roll's a nat 1. So he perfectly executes a triple backflip, but lands flat on his face, and then a goblin stabbed him in the butt with a sword. Squad broken. Long story short, we had used resources to get a ship to help us get back stolen cargo off another ship. A monster, flying type appears and attacks. Bard does manage to help stun and make it think one ship is friendly. Plan backfires. Fast forward to party ship making it back to town. Ship's captain's accused of murder, theft, etc. And to save, we have to roll for persuasion, charisma, etc. after the trial. Rolled a 1. Ruined his life, but luckily he didn't die. My character likes to gamble, so the DM gave me a skill so I can flip a coin before I roll a skill check to get a plus or minus 2 added to my roll. I flipped before trying to intimidate an annoying kid to stop being a nuisance. And because we might be about to blow up the building, maybe I can chase them off. I get the minus 2. No big deal. I roll a natural 1. So, with my minus 1, my character gets scolded by an old lady for the next 2 turns. I rolled a 1 while trying to find flour in a bakery. So I found bread, but no evidence of flour. Had to get someone to help me. I regularly roll a 1 for perception checks, so my teammates have to come physically grab my character or he'll wander off, or stay behind while I escape from the battle we are currently losing. One of my players rolled a 1 on an attack, which ended with them dropping their axe behind them and falling flat on their face. That's just lazy GMing. Jesus. You drop your axe and you fall on your face, stupid. Nice natural 1, We were fighting spiders. I didn't take any damage at all. After the fight, I decided that it would be fun to kick against a spider's head and rolled a 1. 5 damage and 2 poison damage. Probably kicked him right in the fucking fangs. I was DMing, and one guy, whose character was Baldy, wanted to make coffee, got decent rolls, and he was a pot of coffee. I want to go on a limb here and think, I don't think he's making coffee correctly. It's gonna put that out there. He goes, I want to splash a wolf with my boiling hot coffee, which is also himself apparently, and rolls a 1. He drops the coffee pot and it shatters, the coffee getting everywhere. He had to go through the whole process again. His roll's worse than before. But yes, he did end up killing a wolf with boiling hot coffee. I was joking around and said I rolled to live. I had full health. I got a 1. My DM killed me. I hopefully in fucking jest. What are you, fucking Padme? Goddamn. Was in a bar fighting with some dude over a table and a bottle of whiskey. I'm a barbarian with high strength, so I decided to arm wrestle the guy for the table. Rage for advantage, but got 2 nat 1s. The DM decides that I still win, but I smashed the other dude through the table we were fighting for, and the whiskey too. Not all natural 1s mean you lose. That's an important thing as a DM to remember. Not all 1s mean you lose. Not D&D. But when my players were investigating an enemy-run hospital by impersonating a wealthy donor and his bodyguards, their questioning was getting a little closer to bone, and the enemies were quietly reaching for their weapons and positioning for surprise attack. I rolled passive perception secretly, and the players all failed. But just as I was about to announce the attack, one player, a kind of ex-police detective, says he's suspicious of the staff and wants to actively roll perception to identify any threats. Critical fail. I tell him one of the patients in bed is actually an evil mutant, ready to surprise assault the party. He immediately reacts, drawing his weapon and whipping aside the bed covers with a battle cry. The party then has to talk down the administrator guiding them around, trying to find some explanation for why the character had assaulted a harmless naked old man in a compromising position. On the plus side, all the bad guys are now convinced the players are idiots and allow them to leave unharmed. It couldn't have gone any better if you ask me. Was playing old AD&D with some friends a few years back. We were a little rusty on the rules, particularly around the coup de grace, which becomes important. Our party walked into a cave full of sleeping wolves. Figured, hey, this is easy. We stealth next to each one of the adults, take them out before they wake up and deal with the cubs. No problem. All we need to do is hit them. Everyone gets into place and the surprise round starts. Fighter swings and a miss. Ranger shoots an arrow from the cave opening, nat 1. The bow comes unstrung. Fighter/cleric, me, nat 1 swing and a miss. Wizard shoots magic missile. This had already been called. We all called out shots, then rolled together, in an auto hit. Wolf yelps, wakes up the rest of them, as well as the ones in the back chamber, which we never bothered to look around for, and notice were there. 2 rounds. TPK. Our beleaguered DM decides she doesn't want to start this shit over again. Deus Ex Machina, and we're standing outside the cave about an hour earlier being laughed at by a god. Our DM decided that we were must-see TV for the Pantheon, and they didn't want us dead yet because our fuck-ups were just too hilarious. This was not our first. That is an excellent way to keep a party together and get around a TPK. Hats off to that DM. Well done. Not my campaign, but my sister's. Basically, one of the players needed to go to a temple to heal. So he rolled to see if he could find one. He rolled a natural 1. So he ended up finding a place that looks like a temple, but is definitely not a temple. I don't get it. Could you explain? It was a brothel. They tend to almost look like temples, but they are definitely not temples. Temples of the flesh. Hey-o, showing them titties. And or dicks, whatever. They're male brothels. All about equality here on Nerdbeardia. We really want dicks or titties. It's all found here on Neckbeardia. Hoo boy. So me and my friends had just started a new game. We killed some slimes, and our first boss was a fire boar. I was a rogue with daggers. Me, trying to be cool, I attempted to throw one. I rolled a 1 and it flies past and hits a slime a mile away. I tried again. I roll another 1. This dagger flies through a window and kills my mom. We eventually killed it, but afterwards I tried to eat a slime to kill it. I rolled a 1 and killed myself in the slime. So your dagger flies, and you kill your mom. Sorry, bro. Natural 1. Haha. Can't remember much details, but a couple of years ago, in a minigame my buddy started, I rolled to mercy kill and failed. Many times. Chances to get a girl and bone down. My dungeon master is very creative on how bad things get, and let's say I'm no longer a proud orc. Our rogue was a bit of a tinkerer, and had invented a new type of crossbow bolt, one which explodes. It only took a few sessions before he rolled a natural 1, and sent a bolt flying off into the distance. That fire that burned down the slums was a completely unrelated incident, and really, who builds their buildings to be that flammable? I play a rogue, who had somewhere around +10 stealth at the time. Her companion, the dragonborn fighter, wears heavy armor, and gets disadvantage on stealth. They were trying to infiltrate a prison camp and free their friend from a group of villains. Fighter had been successfully making stealth checks up until that point, but we all knew that wouldn't last. So he figured he'd probably have to be the distraction. He decides to just straight up light a fire in someone's front yard to draw the guards' attention. Somehow managed to escape unnoticed while the guards ran to put out the fire. Rogue takes this chance to run inside one of the buildings and look for their friend. Can't remember if she got a natural 20 or rolled above 20 with her modifiers, but she snuck into the building just fine. It turned out to be a house. She goes to leave. DM says, roll for stealth again to sneak out. Natural 1. She trips over a vase, prompting everyone in the house to wake up in a panic and sending several guards rushing in. Ends up with at least 4 guards about ready to attack her. She says, heck it, and books it past them at the door before they can react, prompting them to turn around and chase her and draw a crowd of guards to follow her. While the guards are distracted, Fighter finds their friend and starts preparing to escape while Rogue looks for a way to ditch her tail. Too long didn't read. Rogue natural 1 while sneaking out of a building during a rescue mission. Decided to own it and became the distraction, giving her partner the chance to complete their mission. Bonus. This same rogue spent 2 sessions failing perception and insight checks with natural 1s, or not much better concerning the fact that one of her traveling companions was very obviously a vampire, even after said vampire literally killed something by biting it to death. When that big reveal happened, she was floored, and literally no one else was surprised. Here's my thing, not safe for work, D&D 5e. For context, the group had found, fought, and killed a phase spider while adventuring, and the person they found became a new member of the group. He did not, however, have any gear, or clothes, or anything. He was butt-ass naked. After 2 whole days, one of the group got into him. Let me clarify. 2 players in my campaign were going to do it, because the whole group left the guy with the second highest charisma unclothed for 3 days. Not to mention he rolled a 19 on charisma. Since Christianity did not exist in my game, the whole group prayed to so many different gods to stop this because none of them had any god that didn't hate them. There was literally a drunkard paladin that still needed atonement. And they also didn't get the big brain idea to knock the 2 out. However, since I had no idea how praying works, cause they don't know gods, I did it this way. If they made higher than a 15 religion, they got a god that's morally aligned with them. They wouldn't get to know which god they prayed to until they saw their servant. I then rolled a percentile to see how much their viewpoints aligned, like yes or no to the help thing. The priest nailed the prayer roll, but I fumbled a percentage, a 1% chance. She prayed to the god of fertility to stop the 2 from having sex. She literally prayed to the god of sex to stop sex. The conversation went as follows. Please, help our group. What seems to be the problem, little missy? The god she prayed to was the halfling god, so he ended up looking up at her, a male fertility god. Interesting. We need you to bring this man some clothes. Well, darling, why would he need those? His nature seems to be working quite well, and her fertility even more so. Just help us. Well, I'll see what I can do. He ends up blessing the paladin with a beacon of sexual energy, granting a +10 to sex-related ability checks, and disadvantage for resisting his alluring, godly charm. The entire group realizes this, and while most are dying laughing, and the priest is blushing her damn face off, she prays again. 7 roll, 11 percentile, god of trickery. Ouch. Eventually, she ended up praying to a death god and selling a piece of her soul. Ironically, she failed her part of the bargain, which inadvertently brought the child that would have been born of the 2 players from the future. Now my entire campaign has gone from stop a syndicate to run from the big bad three-horned Broly man in one session. Thank nuts, everyone was there. Save GAGE. That story was a mess. So we were trying to fight a dragon that we'd accidentally woken up. We were in a cave, and the dragon's lair was this pit with a whole bunch of lava. Everyone was solidly attacking. The warlock was even pulling it up and beating the shit out of it. I, unfortunately, rolled a 2 and a nat 1 when I tried to cast spells. Ended up failing once and taking -1 damage respectively. One person died because of my incompetence. I then rolled a nat 20 with a force modifier and one shot what was left of the boss. The person who died was ready to walk out of the garage we were in. The dice giveth, and the dice shall taketh away. And that'll be the end of today's video. If you like this video, and videos like it, be sure to like and subscribe to Neckbeardia, as well as click the bell icon so you know when the videos are released through the week. I really am glad y'all are still sticking around and watching our videos. I really just hope y'all find them at least somewhat interesting, if not somewhat funny, when y'all listen to them. This has been Guard Bro, and I will see you next time.